You can make $2,500 a day pressure washing trains. And in this video, we're going to talk through how to find these jobs, how to quote them, how to land them, who the decision makers are that ultimately decide who washes the trains, which chemicals do you use, as well as if you stick around to the end, I'm going to share with you the biggest mistakes to avoid that are going to ultimately eat up your time and make the job much less profitable. But this month, we are giving away a full year of Quote IQ Elite. That is our top tier, which includes features like InstaQuote, InstaSchedule, route optimization, mass text and email blasts, email automations, pipelines, as well as a ton of other awesome new features we're constantly building into this. We're also giving away 1 year of our Quote IQ virtual call team, so that way you never miss a call again. And lastly, we're giving away 5 Quote IQ ads that come in over 20 different industries to choose from, so that there's something there for everybody. All you have to do is subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment down below, I want to win, in order to be entered. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the video. So let's talk a little bit about this job. In this one, you guys are going to see us clean 3 locomotives, another word for trains. And one of the things you might not notice in this video is that the cleaning process on these is very tedious. It's very detailed. And so setting customer expectations with, whoever it is that you get the job from is going to be incredibly important up front. Some of these guys are going to expect you to come in like a detail company and actually detail out every piece of this train. For us, we were just coming in to remove as much of the surface pollutants as possible, get it as clean as possible without having to go through and basically with a fine-tooth comb and hit every single detail. And that is extremely important to communicate to your customer. It's extremely important to also know the reason for getting these things done. We're going to talk about that here in just a little bit, but if they're going to be using a photo shoot, then that's going to be a much different cost than if they're just being cleaned for maintenance purposes. And, we're going to talk about the differences in pricing between those two, as well as how we communicate that to the customer. So first and foremost, let's talk about how we landed this job. We landed this job through our Google ads. Now, for anybody who doesn't know how we utilize Google, there's basically 4 main phases of search or intent-based marketing that we have absolutely capitalized on to bring in the most amount of lead flow possible into our business. And this is something we go super deep into within the Local Domination 2 course, which will be the second link in the comment section in the description. Guys, if you are struggling getting leads right now, I can't tell you guys how many people come to me and they're like, Justin, I can't get any customers. It's because you don't have a strategic plan. You aren't fishing where there's a ton of fish. You're throwing your line out just hoping that you get a bite, when in reality, there are systems and strategies and different things you can put into place that'll give you the highest likelihood of converting and actually getting calls from super high intent customers. And that's something that we go deep into within the Local Domination 2 course. It's so cheap. It's absolutely ridiculous. You'll get your money back easily on the first lead. And when you teach a man to fish, right, you can eat forever. If all I did was give you a fish, it wouldn't help you out much. So I can tell you all day that we get these jobs from Google ads, but if you want to see the ins and outs and all of the different pieces to the puzzle with regards to our lead flow and how we're bringing that in, be sure to check out the Local Domination 2 course, second link in the comment section and the description, and invest in yourself. Like, dude, you can copy paste this into any industry. You don't even have to use it in pressure washing. You could even go out and run marketing ads and stuff for people. Something we thought about doing, but it's just not the direction that we want to move in. Anyway, we landed this job through our Google ads. This customer called in, and we actually had to send this one off, the first one. So we have some people that we refer leads out to, especially when things get too hectic. When you have your lead flow positioned correctly, you actually get more leads than what you can handle, which then puts you in the driver's seat with regards to who you work for and how much you charge. Because when you have all the lead flow that you could ever need, you just pretty much name your price at that point, because you're not afraid of losing anybody. And this is the position I want to put you guys in with regards to putting yourself in the driver's seat of your business and being able to name your price. And whether or not the customer says yes or no really doesn't affect you too much, because you got all this lead flow coming in. So we referred the first one out, the first call that we got from these people, and to a guy that we send leads off to, and he ended up doing 2 of these locomotive trains. We're going to talk a little bit more about the job that he did the first time and what we learned from that the second time cleaning them, which is what you guys are watching right now. But Google ads, and then we referred it out the first time. The second time he couldn't manage it anymore, so we had to go out and do the cleaning after that. But who is the person in charge of making these decisions with regards to who cleans the trains? That's going to be whoever owns or oversees the car yard wherever they store the trains. And that's ultimately the call that we got in from these guys to get the job done, was the person who owned the car yard and wanted to get these trains clean. So that's who makes the purchasing decisions. And like any purchasing decision, it has to be a balance between value as well as price. And if you can strike the right, middle between having awesome value and good price, then you're gonna land these jobs. Now, we underbid this train job, and we're gonna talk a little bit about that here in just a second. But basically, why does this service need to be done? It needs to be done for a couple different reasons. Like I mentioned early on, the first one was for a photo shoot. I guess they were doing photo shoots with these trains. I'm not sure. When you get into a photo shoot situation, that's when we're talking more of like you need to get in the cracks and crevices, and we're talking about a much more detailed cleaning than the reason that we came back out to clean these. So one of these had a bad leak. They were having some mechanical issues, and so there was grease stains all over it, and they just got super dirty. So the first time, whenever we referred out the lead, they went out to do clean for a photo shoot. Like I said, higher price needs to be charged there because you're doing more detail work. Second time, there was a bad leak, oil all over the place, and so we just came out to clean them up a bit. That way they can maintain their appearance, but they don't need to be perfectly done. Now, how often do these trains need to be cleaned? This was a year's difference right here. I would say you could actually put, some of these car yards on a quarterly maintenance schedule if you wanted to, depending upon why they need to be cleaned, and how often they need to be cleaned. If they're doing photo shoots a lot, or maybe they're hauling specific things that it needs to look good for. You can basically, once you get the contact for the car yard, you can kind of say, hey, what other jobs you guys have? Do you guys need any of these done on a quarterly cleaning? This is kind of how you want to maximize your lead flow. You want to get good leads in that can give you recurring work, and that way you don't have to rely on incoming work coming in all the time, unless you know how to get leads reaching out to you and you know how to convert those leads into customers. So this could offer a great way to do some maintenance cleanings. I've also seen fleet trucks, same thing, dumpster pads, things of that nature. There's a couple different niches within pressure washing that allow for maintenance contracts and things of that nature, so we could do prolonged servicing. Next question is, what are the customers' expectations on the service? We're not a detailing company by any means. That's the same kind of mindset that we take whenever we're doing residential cleanings as well. We're not here to give you a brand new house. We're here to just clean the organics and, basically remove all the stains and things of that nature. We can't repaint your house. We can't do any of that stuff. So same thing here. We just want to get as much grease off as possible and return it to as close as what we can get to its original state before the grease was on there. So some of the things to keep in mind with regards to these, it was hot on the day that we did this. So it was drying really fast. So you had to rinse immediately after applying the chemical solution. You guys are going to see us using a pump up sprayer here. Apply our chemical solution, agitate with the brush, and then pretty much immediately put water on it to rinse it. Otherwise, it would just dry the dirty solution on the train. The train's incredibly hot as well. As you guys know, when you put sun on metal, it just has a recipe for getting really hot. So they detailed these trains last time. We did not do that this time. And like I said, we underbid it. And this is kind of what I'm giving you guys. I'm giving you guys the difference between detailing and, general cleaning, as well as a couple other pieces that we weren't aware of. But I want to break down the cleaning on these as well, which chemicals we use, things of that nature. So we actually ran a test on this one. We actually tried 3 different types of degreasers that we were going to do a separate video with. We didn't end up doing that one just because it ended up being too much. We just had to get the job done. But we used hotter than hell degreaser. We used another degreaser from another chemical company around here. I forget the exact name. And then we used the Zep cleaner from Lowe's, which is just a residential grade, consumer grade degreaser. Now, I will say that the best performer on the day was hotter than hell. It did the best job, and it still didn't clean it 100%. When you're dealing with these grease stains, guys, they're hard to deal with. They're temperamental, and you just have to do the best you can with them. So we applied our degreaser, which was hotter than hell. We used a brush. We rinsed it in small sections, as small as possible, so that way we could avoid drying. And we just kind of rotated that way. This was a good job to have multiple people on for that specific reason. A lot of times some guys will like to run lean and mean. They're like, hey, I'm going to take on this job by myself. Sometimes that doesn't always work to your advantage, though, especially in situations like this. You need a guy that's on the pump up sprayer. You need a guy on the brush. You need a guy being able to rinse. And so for us, we had plenty of people. We're able to rotate in and out. We're able to kind of clean as effectively as we possibly could on this one. Now, how much should you charge for train cleanings? This one, we did it for $2,500 for the 3. They actually snuck an extra one in on us, though. We were under the impression that it was only going to be 2 trains, $1,250 for each. However, they snuck in a third, and we had already agreed to the contract on it. So nothing we could do about that. In the future, we will charge probably more than this. It'll probably be $1,500 a train. And these are the prices that you guys can get if you have enough lead flow and if they trust your company to come in and do a good job. I would say that $1,250 a train is probably closer to the ceiling. They didn't seem like they really wanted to spend more than $2,500, even if it was on 3 trains. So this is the balance that you have to strike between the value that you provide and how much you're going to ask. Now, like I said, when you have more lead flow than you need, you can kind of charge whatever you want. So, 3 men on this, it took a day, 2,500. That's not a bad day for a lot of people. And we would just like to be a little bit better than that the next time that we do this job. Now, how long did it take to get paid on this one? I will tell you guys this: typically on these industrial slash commercial jobs, they either have like a net 30, net 60, net 90. It's usually a nightmare to get paid. This one was not the case. We got paid out super quick on this one. We sent over the invoice through Quote IQ. They approved the invoice, they paid the invoice, and they didn't reach back out with any complaints, anything. They didn't say anything was wrong. So obviously, we did a good enough job to kind of get past any of that stuff. They paid quickly, so everything was super great on this one. So we love working for customers, especially commercial customers that pay quickly. Otherwise, we're sitting around waiting 30, 60, 90 days to get our money. And I don't know about you guys, but I'd rather be paid faster than slower. Just my personal preference. But what were the big mistakes that we made on this job? Not communicating with the company who did the job the first time. I think they would have told us that we probably should have been a bit higher. They would have told us that it was 3 trains and not 2, which was unfortunate. And then they also would have told us that no other company was doing these. And had we known that they just accepted the bid outright, we would have priced these, much higher. So basically 2 instances we can charge more money. One is if they're not getting prices from anybody else. If they trust our company and they know that we do a good job, that is an instance where you've built trust and you can charge more money. The second instance is if they need to get it done as quick as possible. So any of those options, we will charge as much as we can.